Nearly half of Houston's city council races headed to December runoff, including also the Houston mayor race and Houston city controller. Today on TLC Live, Julian Ramirez for Houston City Council at Large, position 1, Roy Morales for Houston City Council at Large, position 4, and also in the runoff, our dear and founder of Texas Latino Conservative, Orlando Sanchez, who is a candidate of Houston City Controller. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live as every Wednesday. I'm Andrea Gomez. Orlando is working on his runoff campaign, so he's not present today, but he is, with the community and talking to everybody and keep campaigning till December 9, Saturday, December 9, which is the day of the runoff elections. So we're going to start with our also dear friend, Julian Ramirez, who is running for city council at large, position number 1. Julian, good morning and welcome to TLC.
Well, good morning, Andrea. It's great to be back with you.
Well, tell us, I'm sure you're campaigning as Orlando and Roy Morales and everybody that is right now in the runoff because you finished campaigning for the November 7 election and continue campaigning for the runoff on December 9.
That's right. The campaign continues. In the election just last week, I was the top vote getter in my race. And what that won me was another 30 days of hard work. And we're working towards finishing this off and winning the runoff.
Well, definitely congratulations for sure, because we know that you've been working so hard, not only on this race, but in previous campaigning that you were in a different positions. But finally, you are in the runoff. You were on the top of the runoff and one of the favorite candidates. So give us an insight of the issues, the thing that you're gonna work on it, and what did you learn on this campaign that you're gonna improve on during this month before the runoff.
Well, the number one issue in Houston is crime, and that's my background. I worked at the district attorney's office here in Houston for more than 27 years, and I want to bring that experience and that skill set to work at city council. I prosecuted a lot of violent crime, a lot of public corruption. For 8 years, I was the public corruption prosecutor and chief of that division. And we have a lot of violent crime and we have corruption at City Hall. So I want to bring my experience to help make things better here in the city of Houston. And certainly, crime is not the only issue. We have a number of things that are on people's minds, including our crumbling roads and infrastructure. And there's always the risk of flooding and so forth. So there are plenty of issues to deal with. But number one on most people's list, as I said, is public safety. And that's really the experience that I can bring to the table.
Julian, why you decide to run for this position at large? I know, I mean, Houston is growing crazy in the last years, but also the crime, as you said, public safety, and many other issues that we have in the city.
Well, I want to focus on big issues, Andrea, and I want to serve. I ran for judge of one of our criminal courts last year, and while I was campaigning in East Houston and other places around the city, I really came to realize how important these city council positions were. And the at-large position offers the opportunity to work on big issues like public safety and roads and infrastructure that cut across district lines. And so I want to focus city government back on the basics that I've spoken about, that people across the political spectrum really care about. We need to do a better job on these things like public safety and roads and infrastructure and our flooding mitigation policies. So that's what I want to do as a city council member.
And another thing that, it gets my attention, that is so many candidates, Latino candidates in these races in the city council. So far, we only have Mr. Gallegos. He is the only Latino in the whole city hall, in this whole city council members. So now so many Latinos been running for positions, for important positions. Is you now, like Ron Morales is also going for runoff. Now we have Orlando Sanchez. So tell me about that is happening in politics.
Well, Hispanics have been underrepresented on city council for quite a while now. Robert Gallegos, who you mentioned, is term limited, so he will not be on council next year. Joaquin Martinez has won his election in his district, so he'll be on council. So we'll have at least one Latino on city council. But if we get out and we elect myself and Roy Morales, then we're going to have two additional. And in addition, there's a runoff in District H involving Cynthia Reyes Revilla and Mario Castillo. So we're going to have a Hispanic district council member there. So we could end up with four Latino council members, which would be a great thing for the city of Houston.
Definitely, but something that it always worry when it comes to politics and elections is the lack of the Latino vote. So Latinos, for tradition, for decades, they don't go out and vote. What are you doing to try to change that, at least in the city of Houston, to for your position?
Well, I tell you what, there are plenty of people in Houston who are working on that, especially on the east side. I was just speaking this morning with Jess Rodriguez and also Rene Porras, a business owner over there on the east side, heavily involved in a group called Denver Harbor Cares. And their efforts have been devoted to increasing turnout there in Denver Harbor, and they've had smashing success. Turnout is up threefold from what it was the last election cycle. And that's largely due to their concerted efforts. And so they're going to repeat that for the runoff. So I anticipate we'll see Hispanic turnout increase in the runoff from what we have seen in past years.
So before we finish the interview with you, I wanted you to explain what it means the runoff. Many people, first of all, people tend to go and vote when it's presidential elections. When it's municipal elections, people tend to they don't know, they don't have enough information, they don't participate. And especially now in the runoff that it's, in the middle of the holidays, is Thanksgiving coming up, and now in December. So why the runoff is very important, and what we can tell and explain to people what the runoff means.
Well, in our system of elections, we need a candidate that can win more than half the votes. And in our city elections, you have multiple candidates. There's no limit on the number of people who can run for a particular office with the city. If you looked at the mayor's race, we had 16, 17, 18 candidates run for mayor. So there's a runoff there. In my race, I was one of 6 candidates, and the votes were split. I ended up with the highest percentage of all the candidates. I ended up with 25% of the vote. But you need, under Texas law, a little over 50% in order to win an election. So it'll be the top 2 finishers in at-large position 1 and in all the races on the ballot in the runoff. And the person who gets elected to the position will be the person in that race who wins a majority of the votes, more than 50%.
Is any of the other candidates that were running for the same position are already showing you support? That way you can, gain their votes?
Well, that remains to be seen. There are some candidates out there who have not decided. So that's an open question. But, at the end of the day, Andrea, I'm going after voters. The endorsements don't mean quite as much to me. I have a lot of impressive endorsements. I'm happy to have them. But really, at the end of the day, we want votes. And that's what our campaign has been guided toward from the beginning. And that's what we're continuing to do right now is push the turnout and then expand our base of supporters so that we can win this election.
When in terms of public safety, what would the first thing that you will push in case you win the election?
Well, the first thing I would do regarding public safety is push for additional funding for our Forensic Science Center, which is our crime lab, which is heavily backlogged. We have more than 4,500 cases that are just waiting to be processed, including more than 500 rape kits. What this means is that there are perpetrators out there on our streets who have not been caught because they've not been identified. It also means that our courts are backlogged because they're waiting for the analysis on these cases that have already been filed to be completed. And when this happens, judges get impatient. They decide they're going to release defendants out on lower bail, out onto our streets. Some of them are going to go on to commit additional crimes, and Houston, in that way, is made less safe. So I want to focus on getting more funding. I have some ideas on some sources for that, and I would love to have the opportunity to pursue that.
What about in infrastructure and streets, potholes? I mean, that this is something that our streets are like, and we're always in construction, and we don't see that something is getting done.
Right. Well, Houston needs to commit itself to repaving its roads and fixing its potholes. You know, Bill King, a prominent Houstonian who does research on a number of different things, has pointed out that the asphalt purchases by the city of Houston has declined over the last several years, which means that the city is not repaving its roads the way that it should be, which we all know. Anybody who drives Houston roads know the condition that they're in. So Houston needs to commit itself to repaving a certain number of road miles every year so that we can make a real dent in this problem and solve it over time. So that would be one important thing I'd like to see done.
Business owners, I hear this complaint often. The permit department is slow. They don't get things done. It takes forever. So, what is your thoughts on that?
Well, I totally agree. I've heard horror stories from contractors and builders and regular people, residents, about the permitting process, and they have a number of inefficient practices that we need to reform. And you know, the overall attitude, it seems, from the permitting department seems to be it's like working with your health insurance company, where the default answer is no, where they're looking for a reason to deny you. I think sometimes the permitting center works in the same way. They're looking for a reason to deny you the permit, which delays projects, leads to money being lost because projects are not as profitable once time drags on and so forth. And so we need to eliminate some of the inefficient practices that we see in the permitting center. And I'd like to work with the mayor on that.
Another thing that I hear constantly complaints, and I am the one that always complain, is like, for example, the water department. I mean, you call over there and it's always a delay and then they're not efficient. And it's like, it's crazy. At least now the electricity, it's not run by the government. So you have different options. But with the water in the city of Houston is not the case. Many of the offices in the government, it's like slow.
Right. Well, with regard to water, there's a couple of common complaints that we see. One is people are complaining about the automatic rate increases that have been built in and passed by city council. Some people have said our water rate have doubled. Our water bill has doubled, even though we're not using more water. Now, why is that? Well, it's because council passed these automatic rate increases every year for the next few years some time ago. I would like to get council to repeal those automatic water rate increases and take it slower. Consider these rate increases on a yearly basis, right? Because people are being overburdened, especially our older folks, overburdened by these high water rates. The other thing that comes to mind with regard to water is the huge number of water main breaks that we have in the city. Hundreds and hundreds of water mains have broken in our hot summer, and the city has been so slow to repair these. And the result is that millions of gallons of water have been lost down the drain. So this is unacceptable. And this is my part of the theme that I've been pursuing since day one is Houston needs to focus on basic city services and do them well. And we don't seem to do any of it well. And that's a problem. And I'd like to help to fix that.
Awesome. Well, Julian, I know you're busy campaigning and different events, so call to action. Just talk to the voters.
Yes, please get out and vote. This election is so important. We're going to elect a new mayor, and the mayor is the dominant force in city government. We're also going to elect a new council. And this runoff is so important. If you want to have a voice in your city government, and especially if you're conservative, uh, please get out and elect our candidates. Vote for me, Julian Ramirez, vote for Roy Morales, and vote for Orlando Sanchez so that we can truly have a voice in city government for the next 4 years.
And where we can find you, and where we can people can find you and donate for your campaign, because you still need donation in your campaign.
Absolutely. These campaigns are expensive, and I have expended all of our funds in order to get into this runoff, and we're raising money again. You can visit my website, www.julianramirez4Houston.com, and there'll be a donate button there. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I'd also encourage folks to check out my Facebook page and my Instagram page and follow the activities of the campaign. If you're interested in getting involved, I would love to hear that because it takes a group effort. And we're just going to move forward, until the runoff date and do what it takes to win this thing.
Great. Well, congratulations and good luck. And we're going to just keep in touch with you till November 9, which is the elections, and also November 27 is early voting.
That's right. Thanks so much, Andre. It's great to be with you.
Thank you, Julian. So from position number 1, we're going to position number 4 with Roy Morales. He is in the runoff for Houston City Council at Large, position number 4. Roy, welcome to TLC. I see that you also campaigning and you also on the road as Julian. Everybody today is super busy campaigning. Of course, you guys didn't have any break. So let's see if you can adjust your camera.
I'm working on that now. There we go. Well, that's a little better. Okay.
Okay. Well, Roy, welcome to TLC Live.
Andrea, thank you for having me today. This is a great opportunity for Orlando, for Julian, and myself. The three
Well,
amigos,
Roy,
they can call us now.
yes, of course. So tell us about your campaign, your issues, and why you decide to run for this position.
Well, I met with the police union back in November, and they asked me to consider running for this position because the incumbent had tried to defund their budget. After doing more research, we found not only did she try to defund their budget, she tried to put a stop to federal dollars for protective gear for the police officers. So I decided at that time I needed to come out of retirement and run for this position.
Okay, so what is the biggest issue that you're gonna work? I'm sure public safety is one of the main ones, as Julian just pointed out.
Well, fighting crime is my number one priority. We have to protect the citizens of Houston. We need to protect the businesses. We need to protect the children. And we need to find ways to get more police officers out on the street. We need to make sure that when there's a priority one phone call, which is a life and death situation, our police officers need to be there in 4 minutes, not 6 minutes like they are now. When I was the former assistant director for the Houston Emergency Center, we were at 4 minutes arriving on the scene, and we've got to get back to that.
So tell us about your plan. What is the proposals that you're gonna make once if you win this election?
Well, there's many proposals now that Prop A has passed. We can find 2 other at large or even district council members to put something on the budget, or actually on the agenda. I'm sorry, had a phone call coming in. So that's very important. So what are some of the areas that we can look at? Well, I know Orlando has a great idea about taking advantage of all the law enforcement in the area. So we need to find out how we do that. We need to make sure that we can be able to talk with the different radio systems. We've got to figure out a way of working with all the dispatch systems so we can take advantage of all these law enforcement officers in the city of Houston. So we need to look at some way of getting that on the agenda. Other things that we need to look at is we need to increase the budget for our police officers. We need to have more police officers on the street. We have fewer police officers today than we did 20 years ago. That's unacceptable. We need to make sure that we have law enforcement out on the streets taken care of. We need more flock cameras out there in the different districts, checking to see if we have criminals driving our streets. And we don't have many on the east side of town. We need to get more active in pursuing criminals in Denver Harbor, in Second Ward, in Manchester, in the north side. Uh, we need to protect those areas more and more and more.
When you've been blog walking, what is the main concerns of the community, and how do you reach out to the Hispanic community, which is right now half of the population in Houston?
Well, it is about 45%, about 35 to 38% registered voters. Well, my mission to engage the Hispanic community has started years ago. Being a member of the LULAC organization since 2005. This year alone, I've been out at Denver Harbor many times, sponsored a Little League team out there. I sponsored an event out there to get out the vote. Spent much of time, a lot of my time in these areas to let them know that their vote counts and that now they have to take the opportunity to flex their muscles and be heard.
Why you think the Hispanic community, it's always like it's so hard to take them out to go and vote?
Well, I think because they believe that their vote doesn't count. So we have to show them that their vote counts. It's very important to do that. And in fact, if you look at the numbers on the last day of early vote, the Hispanic vote exploded. If you went to Denver Harbor, they were averaging 50 votes a day. They went to 250. If you went to Ripley House, they were averaging about 150 votes a day. They went to like 750. The same can be said of Moody Park. They were coming out. They want an opportunity. They want to be heard. And I'm hoping if we can get them out again, that the three of us will be elected on December 9th.
Well, Roy, call to action, how the community can help you out, not only donating, but if they want to donate also, or be volunteer, walk blocking with you and things like that. How do we can find you?
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website, www.roymorales.com, or to Facebook or Instagram. And my phone number and my emails haven't changed since 2005. So a lot of people have logged them in before. And so we just need them come out, donate, volunteer, block walk, uh, get to the polls, help us during early vote, handing out cards. All of it's important.
Well, great. Roy Morales, thank you so much. He is a runoff candidate for Houston City Council at Large, position number 4. Good luck, and we're going to keep in touch later on to keep helping you in your campaign.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. Have a
Gracias.
good day now. Bye.
You too. Well, as we know, so also Orlando Sanchez, our founder of Texas Latino Conservatives, he is in the runoff for Houston City Controller, a very, very, very important position. And we just wish luck to all our runoff candidates. It's very important to go and vote. Early voting started November 27, and the elections day is Saturday, November 9. So just prepare for that day, or if you don't have time that Saturday, because many people are going on vacation, try to vote on the early voting. Is a week after Thanksgiving. So this is a very important election. This is the municipal election. This is the people that not only run the city, but it impact our life daily, our family, our jobs, our streets, everything that has to do with the city is these people. So please go and vote. That's very important. And our Latino community, por favor, salgan a votar. This is a very, very important election. Probably more important the presidential election, because we live in the city and this is our daily thing that impact our life. Whatever they do, whatever they decide, whatever they propose, impact our daily life. So this is a very important. If we want things to get done, we need to go and vote. Otherwise, we cannot complain. So again, December 9th, Saturday, is Elections Day, and November 27th is early voting. Thank you so much for being with us, and please also visit us at TexasLatinoConservatives.com. Donate, participate, check our calendar. Leadership Latino is coming up in January at the end of the month. So please check it out and register for our class if you want to run for office, if you want to be a leader of your community, or you just want to participate. And this is very important. Whatever we do in politics is going to impact not only our life, but our children, our families, our job. Politics, whether you like it or not, so many people don't like politics, but whether we like it or not, politics run our country, our life, and everything, decisions that the cities and the county, the states, and the country made. So that's why it's very important to go and vote. Muchas gracias por habernos acompañado. El próximo miércoles es la semana de Thanksgiving. No vamos a tener un show. Así que los vemos la semana después de Thanksgiving. Next week is Thanksgiving. So it's time to be with the family, with friends, to be grateful, to thank for everything that we have in this life, for have our loved one nearby, and to have a meal and to share all the beautiful and good things that this life is giving us. So that's why we're going to make a pause next week on the show, but we'll see you guys next the following weekend, when also start the early voting in the runoff election. Muchas gracias por habernos acompañado. Nos vemos en 2 semanas. Chao, chao.